I had all kinds of neck braces on and things to stabilize my vertebra in the emergency room, and I could see there were about 10 people all moving around me and doing things and pulling and changing things, and it was at that point where I saw just the urgency on a lot of their faces that I thought, wow, actually it's not just a broken leg here. I'd set out to go and do a route recon before the time trial that day, and it was a really windy, gusty day, but I can remember just being excited about the race, looking forward to testing out my legs ahead of the Tour de France and really showing where I was at form-wise. And it was the first big challenge for me of the Critérium du Dauphiné. It was the first big test to really see where I was at. I headed out onto the course, and I can remember the first part of the recon, but around where I crashed, I've got no recollection at all. So I can only really go off what people who saw the crash happen. I can go off what they said, and basically what I understand was it was a perfectly straight piece of road, slightly downhill, so I was going at quite a speed, and I went to go and clear my nostrils, and I was also going past some buildings at the same time, and the wind funneled through between buildings and taken my front wheel, and basically I tried to hold it up and ended up veering off the road into a wall at quite high speed. I think it really was just one of these freak accidents. I can remember lying on the ground, and I can remember the first responders coming over to me, and my coach Tim Kerrison, Gary Blem, my mechanic, Sebas Knaven, my director, were all in the car behind me. I can remember interacting with them, speaking to them, and Gary pretty quickly told me. I think my first question was, "Can I get up? Can I get back on my bike? Am I going to be okay?" And they made it very clear that I wasn't moving anywhere, and I should just lie still, and that I wouldn't be carrying on the rest of the race. And I think one of my first questions was, "Am I going to be all right for the Tour de France in a few weeks' time?" And they very sort of quickly put that out of my mind and said, "Listen, they couldn't obviously give a prognosis, but they said it looks like your leg's broken and your arm doesn't look good either. So no, you're not going to be on your bike." And I think those first moments were the moments that really sort of hit home, and I took it on board that I'm not going to be racing the Tour de France this summer. Almost felt like a scene from Grey's Anatomy or something, where it just hit home that actually there's more going on. It still hadn't quite sunk in at that point just how serious it was. As soon as all my injuries were actually fully explained to me, that was where I obviously took on board exactly what the extent of the injuries were and understood. I mean, I could barely even breathe after surgery. My lungs had been damaged by my broken ribs and my broken sternum as well. So I mean, I was coughing up blood. I was having help to breathe as well. So it was scary when I did come around the morning after the operation and just felt how hopeless I was lying in that bed. And obviously 24 hours previously I was hoping to try and win the Critérium du Dauphiné. It was just like polar opposites, and that was quite hard coming to terms with that news for me from the surgeon, where he said, "You can make 100% recovery. There's nothing stopping you." That for me that's all I wanted to hear at that point. And from that point on, it just felt like everything was so positive, and it was just, I was incredibly lucky not to have been more seriously injured. My biggest concern at that point was my family, my wife and my kids. Michelle literally just dropped everything and came over to the hospital, but it was having her there. Obviously she was a huge pillar of strength for me at that moment, and having her explain things to me. And I was in a French hospital, and she had time with all the surgeons and the doctors while I'd been out, and So she was, when I came round, she was able to sort of explain things to me, and I think it was all really positive from that moment on. I think it's safe to say that I'm ahead of all the predictions that were made initially of how long it would take to get to even just this point. I got the green light to start weight bearing very, very lightly, but I mean it's something. It's a big step. So I've been doing 3 to 4 hours of physio every day, every morning. I take a small break at lunchtime, and then I start the exercises that I need to do, which is again up to about 2 hours of exercises that I do on my own, just implementing everything the physios helped me to be able to do. So I mean the days are full. It's been incredible, the number of messages, the number of letters and cards I've received in hospital and at home as well. It's just, and throughout the Tour de France, people standing on the side of mountains holding get well messages for me, and it's just, it's been amazing. It's been really, really heartwarming and motivational for me as well, just to I guess see how much I've been missed in the race this year, and motivational for me to want to get back there in the future. The only goal I've set myself personally is to get to the Tour de France next year. That's what's driving me. That's what's week by week I can set myself little goals in terms of allowing myself a little bit more movement, or small goals, but for me the underlying goal here is to get to the start of that Tour de France next year in 2020, and to be at a similar or better position than I was this year, and that's what's driving me at the moment.